Welcome to Circle the Wagons. Circle the Wagons is a panel discussion of one political topic per episode. Our distinguished panel members will bring multiple perspectives to surround the issue and introduce viable solutions. Now it's time to buckle up and get ready to Circle the Wagons. Welcome back to the Patchouli Podcast Studio here in the heart of Denton, Texas. We are sponsored and hosted by Patchouli Joe's Books and Indulgences, led by its fearless leader, Mr. Charlie Young Bull Forrester. Charlie, what's on your mind this week? How you doing?
Hey, yeah, there's a good amount on my mind this week. Specifically, signal chats and bombing of drug boats, I think we could say. That's what's on my mind, but also Christmas coming up too, so that's also on my mind. So it's the latter of the coin.
Yeah.
The good and the bad.
Little sprinkle of good on top of whatever else is coming.
Yeah.
Mr. Joel Hunt, speaking of the Navy, what is happening with you this week?
Well, what isn't happening? So actually, it's funny that Charles brings up the signal chat, because a while back I went on one of my hyperfixations and I pulled up, printed out, and annotated every infraction that they committed based off of the DoD 5200.01, which is our information security program controlling unclassified information, which again outlines how you can and can't use certain methods for transmissions of important information. And there's also a secondary little memo that goes along about how you can and can't use not social media, but applications on your phone to include Signal. But also, I got a really nice call from a friend that I was in the Navy with 2 days ago. And the conversation started off with, "Hey, what are you doing this time October of next year?" Like, you're getting married. Nice. So that was nice.
Oh, good.
And then another buddy of mine that I went to go see the day of Thanksgiving, he's getting married as well. So, but they're not doing a full wedding. They're just going to go get eloped at the courthouse and have a party on New Year's Eve.
Nice.
Nice.
So again, good and bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's called
Yeah.
balance.
The dichotomy of man.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
Momma D,
Yeah.
welcome back to town. How are you?
I am great. Yeah. Doing good. What is on my mind? Well, it is the Christmas season, and I do enjoy the whole decorating and all of that. But what's on my mind as far as politically goes is the economy and the fact that things are expensive. We had
There's a child
smart,
behind me.
yeah, smart. We had
Bunny Joe, what's up?
Hey, Chelsea.
Yeah,
No, you're
that's
totally fine.
fine. You're always welcome. We're just keeping the child off the podcast. Joel covering the camera. No, it's fine.
No, you're
no,
good.
it's totally
Leave
fine. I
him.
promise.
Totally
Leave
fine.
him.
Yeah, yeah.
Totally fine. I promise.
That's sorry to interrupt, but
Anyway.
that's one of the occupational hazards of,
Yeah,
of
maybe.
doing our podcast in a live bookstore.
Yes.
But it also gives you a little taste of what life's
Well, she's
like
the
here.
sweetest. I'm not letting you see anything what's going on.
Yeah. And one of our favorite local authors.
Yes.
So.
Chelsea Conrad in the building.
Again, that is a Chelsea Conrad.
Mhm.
Chelsea Conrad by chance. Chelsea Conrad.
Sure.
Yeah, The Farmhouse. If you're looking for a good thriller book, The Farmhouse is the one to get.
Yeah.
I went through Powell's. Sorry, we'll come back to what's on your mind. I know we've been
Yeah.
derailed, and I called Chelsea Bonnie
do
Joe.
that.
I'm horrible.
I think you met them like right at the same time.
I met them at the same time,
Yeah.
and they're both local authors that have just done tremendous things. And I'm sorry, Chelsea. I called you Bonnie Joe. Anyway, when we went to Powell's this summer, I went through and found every Denton local author and put a sticker inside the book on the shelves at Powell's, which is the mothership of kind of all West Coast bookstores, or Pacific Northwest anyway. Yeah, that's what I did.
Kind of
And
the mothership of They're with malaprops of indie bookstores.
They're huge.
Yeah.
Howls?
Yeah.
Howls.
in
It is
Portland.
huge. Takes up a whole city block.
Is it
Yeah.
Portland?
In
Yes.
Portland. Yeah.
Downtown Portland.
Oh, I guess I need to go to Portland. I've never been to even Oregon, so
Yeah. It's worth going to Powell's
Yeah.
to go into
Powell's
Portland.
is when going downtown and all the hassle that comes along with it. Anyway, I went through and dropped stickers, and one of the books into which I inserted a Julie Joe sticker was Chelsea Conrad's The Farmhouse.
oh, nice.
That was where I was going with the story. Let's back up again. Momma D, welcome back home.
Hey.
What is on your mind?
Momma D.
So just the cost of goods going up. We're having Wassel Fest this weekend, which is where people come around, go to the different stores and get a little cup of hot apple cider that everybody serves, and they vote on the best. It's really cool. Used to get, I mean, this is a silly little thing, but I was like, let's go cheap this year and just get styrofoam cups because we're handing out hot liquid. Used to be $1 for 50 of them, $1 a pack. Simple, buy 300 of them because that's how many we may serve. They were $1.75 a pack, which doesn't sound like a lot, but it
adds up.
is when it adds up. And
Doubles in price almost.
exactly. And I'm thinking young families out trying to support their families, trying to buy food, trying to buy
Trying to
paper
buy
goods,
books.
trying to buy books.
Yeah.
Books, price of
Great
books
point.
going up. It's just, yeah.
Yeah, Charlie is feeling the pain of that, I think, here at the store. With the cost of our costs, the bookstore's costs go up, publisher costs go up. And we're just sort of in that pinched in the middle either. Yeah, it's
I'm confused because I keep seeing that the economy is doing great and that prices are going down universally.
Yeah,
and-
there's like this big talking head that keeps saying that everything's better.
yeah.
What did I
So-
just hear? What word did I just hear was a bad word that was a liberal word?
Ah.
Affordability.
Affordability, apparently, the
Affordability is-
Democratic hoax.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's a big word for Elmo.
Yeah.
Well,
How about that?
and I'm also a little worried about the bombs, the boats being bombed.
Yeah.
A
Little
fair
worried about
amount
that.
of worry.
Worried.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The baiting of the oil.
Yeah.
Mr. Hatfield, thank you for joining us. I know you were a bit under the weather. I didn't when Joelle said, I hope you don't pass on. I was a little concerned about just how far under the weather you were. But it's good to see you up and alive and joining us. Thanks
Appreciate
for
that.
pushing through the pain and being here, man. How's
Got
life
my
in
caffeine.
Hatfieldville?
Hatfieldville has been quite interesting the last couple of weeks. We've got a lot going on. Everything good, all right. And speaking of Wassel Fest, I believe there's an establishment right around the corner from you guys called 940's Kitchen and Cocktails that I think has won the Wassel competition the last 3 years in a row, and I do believe that I've gotten my hands in the mix this year. So they set the bar high for me.
This is true.
Word on the street is they cheat.
Oh,
That's my story. I
Oh.
don't know if it's true or not, but that's that's the only reason Julie Joe's doesn't win. And speaking of 940s, I'm going to sneak a picture. This is a very low tech way of
Hey.
doing things. That was Diane's and my dinner the other night
Oh, it was
at
amazing.
940. It was absolutely lovely. And the dessert we had, we didn't get a picture of because we dove into that way too fast. A cheesecake,
Blueberry
a
cobbler.
blueberry
cheesecake.
cobbler cheesecake.
Mhm.
Well,
That one right there.
magnificent.
I've heard some of those words.
Glad you guys enjoyed that. Really, really good.
Blueberry and cobbler.
So looking forward to that. But
Never.
hey,
Yeah, what's
You
on your
know,
mind?
My entire life.
I can see the same things going
You've
on.
never
Just
had
kind of
cheesecake?
add to what Diane and Mama
Oh.
D was saying there for a second. You know, as
hang,
far as
hang on,
restaurant goes.
we're talking over each other. Don't make me
Sorry.
separate you two.
Sorry.
Go ahead, John.
No, just to add to that, we see the same thing. I am actually currently in the process of rolling over. We just changed up our entire, lunch and dinner menu. I'm doing a whole new cocktail menu there, and in so doing my R&D and looking at my cost calculations, I've got drinks that I have made for multiple different establishments over the last few years, and so I have a pretty good gauge on what my costs have been for every facet of what my business entails. Everything is about 30 to 40% higher than it was just a couple of years ago. So we're feeling it too. We've got to always have the conversation. Do we need to go ahead and increase our prices because we've got to adjust for our margins required, or do we just eat some of that cost because we understand that we don't want to price anybody out, that we have to be very delicate about how we approach um, our setting our retail up
Yeah.
versus what our costs are and what it costs to run the business and manage our P&L. It's tough.
Yeah,
And
and
it's
I
easy
think
to
that's
see how
I think it's a really good point. We talked about the economy sort of as this, massive monolithic thing a few weeks ago. But now what you guys are talking about is the nuts and bolts. This is how it affects real people doing their real day-to-day jobs. Yeah,
yeah,
sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but I think
no,
that's a
you're
really good
perfect. But
follow-up to that conversation.
it's just I get to see it on another end where I have employees and staff that are both on an hourly basis and on a gratuity basis in service mode. So we're constantly having to adjust ourselves to make sure we're managing our labor accordingly because all of our labor goes up means our prices go up. Prices go up on us, we've got to increase prices somewhere else. Like everything's impactful. My front of house staff finds that, what they require what they're trying to make, what their sales goals are, what their percentages are, they hope to make isn't going to be the same as what they were used to making before to make ends meet. But they're still making the same 213 an hour. Like, what I mean, like our hourly obligation to them hasn't changed any. We still make
Yeah.
fees the same, but people aren't coming to the restaurant spending money, sales are down.
Yeah, and I think that's the same thing that most of the businesses here around the square are facing. I know Charlie did some analytics the other day with Black Friday and Small Business Saturday last year compared to this year, and the comparison was not flattering for this year. So,
Mm-mm.
despite all of the propaganda seems like such a strong word, but it's accurate.
It's
Um,
appropriate.
Public
just
relations.
yeah, despite yeah, there you go.
It's concise.
Despite all the public relations information that's being disseminated by the administration, it doesn't seem to line up with the reality that we're facing.
It's almost
No,
like they fired the people that reported, accurate information.
Huh.
Well, and then
I wonder.
decide not
how
to.
about that?
No one would
Yeah.
do that. Doesn't make any sense.
We got data, but no, we're not going to show you. We're not going to tell you.
Is it data or is it data?
Yeah,
Mm.
that's the question. That's really at the heart
Tomato
of
or
it.
tomato?
But whoa, hey, first of all,
I think on
Let's not
Star
start
Trek:
fights.
The Next Generation, it's pronounced data.
That's a name, though. That's a proper name.
Facts. I just felt like,
Yeah.
correlative.
We'll use that as one data point.
One data.
Data point. There you
See
go.
what I did
Um,
there? Uh-huh.
so,
How
yes, as far as
many tomatoes
headlines
is
go,
that?
I was actually kind of thinking about two different things, and have narrowed it down to one. And just because it's so important, and I feel like we're going to talk about what else I want to talk about, anyways, elsewise. But to just one last tidbit of that. If you guys weren't aware, there was a blackout resistance movement protest
Yep.
where they said they weren't going to spend money from
Right.
Black Friday through last Tuesday. And I think that, especially in Denton, in a university town, we really saw that. We saw that the foot traffic was down, the sales.
I wondered
And-
about that.
were reflecting
And I
that.
think that's why it's important. Well, I'll save this for yeah, I'll save that thought. But it's like, for example, well, yeah, we'll just move on. So, given all of that, sounds
But
all the fun things. Obviously, with the military background, particularly in special ops, the goings on off the coast of Argentina, having been through Desert Storm.
Isn't it Venezuela?
What I say, Argentina? Yeah,
Argentina.
Venezuela. Sorry.
They love Argentina.
Yeah.
Let's get that. Yeah.
And I
But
wonder why.
having
Mm.
been through Desert Storm, which was another name for that is the quest for Middle Eastern oil. That is that particular news issue is particularly close to my heart, because yeah, this is alarming on many levels. notwithstanding the seemingly unprovoked attacks, but also the way by which they're going about it has given me concerns. We're talking about the admirals involved who were fundamentally thrown under the bus by our Secretary of Defense, saying, "Yeah, no, I didn't stick around for the whole time, but yeah, I back them up. They made the decision, but yeah, I got their backs." Yeah, he's you never do that. You take accountability rolls uphill. Anyway, so yeah, that's the topic on my mind as well.
Yeah.
And the good news is I'm sitting here with family and friends and loved ones, and my goodness, any damn vertical is a good day. So that's the positive sprinkle on top of the turd sandwich we're getting ready to digest.
Yeah.
And I do have indigestion.
Metaphorically speaking.
But now this Venezuela thing, it's been a long time coming, and it feels like every new move is just more and more baiting Venezuela to come into conflict with us. And this goes all the way back to like April, whenever we hit them with a 25% tariff on all the exports to the United States. And then come to kind of the strikes in September on vessels leaving Venezuela, which now we're starting to get more information that it wasn't necessarily potentially drug traffickers, that it was actual fishing boats and citizens of Venezuela being attacked. And then, further down the road, you have the United States saying that the CIA could operate within Venezuela, and then rumors of a regime change. So it kind of just seems like a lot of this Venezuela stuff is just kind of baiting them to get into a conflict for justification for us to go to war with Venezuela.
Yeah, and we've talked about this before, where whatever's in the news always makes me pause and question, okay, what's really going on? What's really behind it? And the oil aspect is one aspect of it, and unfettered access to the Venezuelan oil is one.
Can you elaborate on Venezuela oil? What makes Venezuelan oil so important?
It's attractive primarily because of proximity to the Gulf coasts, where you have a lot of oil refinement, and you don't have to haul it over from the Middle East. So you can save transportation, the transportation of the raw crude oil into the refineries that are sitting on the Gulf Coast. Because if you look at the geography of those, it's right there.
Is there a lot of it? A lot of oil?
Yeah, their oil industry is
Arguably the largest.
It's the largest proven oil reserves in the world, estimating 303 billion barrels.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And to put that into perspective, so there's some are saying that on the low estimates it's about 110 billion, but at the same time, it's substantially more than what even the U.S. has, and even in terms of like our reserves for, we'll say, wartime, what we carry in Sasebo, which is our biggest military oil reserve there. Like 40% of all U.S. military oil reserve is in Sasebo, Japan.
Oh, wow.
Right. So it's just like, and that eclipses how much we have there. So the idea, if we can get our hands on that from a country that's basically doesn't have capability to wage war against us.
Yeah, to defend themselves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And who is the largest recipient of Venezuela oil?
Yeah, good question.
That's a
I'm
good
assuming the U.S.
No, actually not.
Russia.
China.
No, but yes, China.
Yeah, that's
China
right. I
would
did
be
read
the
that.
largest exporter of Venezuela oil.
Importer? They're bringing
Importer.
Yeah.
Yes. So Venezuela exports the oil
To
to
China.
China the most. India also is another big one. But kind of the countries that the United States doesn't have wonderful relationships with are countries that Venezuela likes to trade the most with.
Basically
would kind of piss
BRICS
them
countries.
off?
Correct.
Mm,
Yeah.
wow.
I'm doing some mathing here. The distance between they're not gonna give it to me.
You
Trying to
guys,
calculate the sea distance between Caracas and Houston as compared to the distance of having to bring it out of Kuwait or one of the places over in the Middle East. Obviously, if you look at a map, I mean, it's dramatically closer.
Now, we just talked about how our two topics here were the state of the economy at this point and what's happening in Venezuela. Could what's happening in Venezuela also be used as a distraction to the economy in the United States? Or do you think the two things are not related?
I mean, it's kind of like the conversation we had last podcast that a lot of the economy is dealt within petrodollars. And if we're talking about a country that has a lot of petro, you know, of course that's going to affect the economy. So I don't know
So it's all
necessarily if
connected,
it's a
maybe.
demise, but I feel like it's definitely correlated with each other.
Yeah, and I think you made a really good point, Charlie, about the largest importer of Venezuelan oil being China. From a strategic perspective, if you have the ability to inflict higher costs or some other way inconvenience your largest competitor in the economic market worldwide, then it would make sense. Now it would be far less invasive to sit down and say, hey, let's talk about this. Let's import your oil to the U.S. Let's cut down to negotiate that, instead of just purely saying we're going to take it over. We're going to start by drowning fishermen, shooting them while they're hanging on to sides of boats. And then we're going to declare the space over your country to be closed to any air traffic because we're getting ready to come in and move in on the ground. And those are all threats. Those are all things that have happened. You know,
yeah.
it's the old
Real quick,
expression,
you
shoot a
guys.
fly with a cannon.
Mhm.
Yeah, go ahead, Josh.
Okay. So I pay attention to this guy, Mr. Global, I believe. His name's
Oh, yeah.
Matt Randolph. But if you look up his handle, Mr. Global, on YouTube or TikTok, he is a 33-year expert in oil and gas, formerly with the Shell company, and Central Energy. And he puts out a lot of really good content talking about um, the impacts of our politics and economics and the oil, and he has a lot of good insight on this particular topic as well.
Yeah, I
So
definitely
just throwing it
agree.
out there.
Yeah,
Another
he's a
good
great follow.
source,
We used to
showcasing
be
good
mutuals
factual
actually back in
information
the
from
day.
an expert.
Oh, really?
I asked him to get me an OU,
Wow.
and I'm glad that failed, considering with the whole essay thing going on at OU. But no,
Right.
yeah, he's a really good source for if you're trying to understand a little bit more about like how global markets work and kind of the nuances between like what you see, but what's actually happening with a lot of clarification. And he likes to back up what he says with expertise, experiences, and things you can just look up on your own. So
Okay, I don't want to change the subject, but what's the OU story here?
Oh, that is a whole entire shebang. So, a student that was wanting to get into OU, essentially did an essay, got a 0
So
from.
not
Oh,
get
yeah.
in. She was already a junior at the school.
Oh,
She got an
okay.
F.
Pre-med, and she got a 0 because she only used the Bible. It was an opinion piece that she wrote with
Yeah.
0 sources, and the reason she got a 0 is because the instructor, who was trans, said you didn't back up your arguments. You just wrote a sermon with no citations, no references. You used the Bible as a reference. You didn't even cite the Bible as your reference.
Yeah.
Wow.
Like, you cannot pass a research paper by not giving any sites or references.
So
And
now
she's
is
claiming
OU
it's
in trouble?
Yeah, she's claiming it's religious persecution
And then
because she got an F on that essay, because she claims that they are anti-Christian.
Christian, because she used the Bible as her
And
reference.
what did the university do?
they put the teacher on leave.
Yep.
Oh my.
Yep.
And if there
Oh,
was any solidarity in the student base, every single student would start only writing Christian-based articles and having them all suspended and just like shutting the entire university down. But they won't do that
No, of
because
course
I
not.
would do that in a heartbeat. If UNT did that to any student here,
Yeah.
in a heartbeat.
Yep.
I'm like, hey, there's a precedent already set here. So all I got to do is just say nothing,
Really?
cite the Bible, which I can do in droves because I was once a purveyor of the biblical arts.
right.
And then, just coast through. As a junior, mind you, who's also quote unquote pre-med.
Hmm.
And then people started reading the whole paper. And it wasn't even so much like she didn't even get a 0 for the fact that it was just one of the worst written papers I've ever read.
Hmm.
And you could tell that it wasn't AI because the syntactical issues, the grammar issues, the run-on sentences, everything was terrible. It sounded like a 10th grader wrote it.
And it wasn't
Wow.
the intent was never to
Yeah, it was never.
submit a paper. It was bait. It was rage bait,
And now
which
she's
is the
obviously-
Oxford Dictionary.
And she
was
won.
The Oxford Dictionary that declared rage bait.
I mean, she still got an
I'm not
F.
sure.
I don't think
Well-
the grade has got reversed. So I think she still failed that assignment. But of course,
But why did the teacher get let go?
because it's all PR now.
Yeah.
Oh,
They wanted-
This is coming from a university that literally is boomer sooner, though.
That's
yeah.
true.
Literally, we're the ones that were running indigenous people off their land, which were the Sooners.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and that was
I mean,
the
yeah,
boom.
just look at their,
So
state
They
education
tried to
director.
rename them.
Go ahead, Josh.
I was saying, just look at Oklahoma State Education Director and where, at the state, Oklahoma ranks 49th to 50th
Yeah.
in education.
Yeah.
They don't care. They don't care.
But to answer your question, Joe, yes, Oxford Dictionary named rage bait the word of the year 3 days ago.
Oh,
Really?
Yeah, I thought it was Oxford.
yeah, I mean, and back to the Venezuela thing. That's what we're doing to Venezuela is we're definitely rage baiting them.
And
Yeah.
and I can almost guarantee you all this is being orchestrated by the master rage baiter in the West right now, which is Stephen Miller. Like,
Yeah.
Mhm.
without a doubt, he is a millennial. Millennials thrived on rage baiting our entire lives. All this is him. A lot of this stuff is too quote unquote methodical and well thought out for it to actually be Donald John Trump.
Yep.
This is
Oh,
pure
yeah.
Stephen Miller.
There's no way Trump does not have his finger on the pulse here.
Yeah.
This
His thing was
is in
tariffs
every
and
way Miller going through and making sure that the Project 2025 agenda bullet points are followed through because that's what helps them continue to seize the institutions and capture the power.
Yeah, and that's the one thing we haven't talked about yet with regard to Venezuela and inciting a war with Venezuela, which is what it seems is happening. Again, to the Stephen Miller Project 2025 issue, one of the things that the current administration absolutely does not want to see is an election in 12 months. They do
No,
not want to
absolutely
see a midterm election. There have been hints, there have been allusions, there have been sort of, little yarn dangled out saying things about the election. And it sure would be nice if we didn't have an election and those kinds of things. So what are your thoughts? I know y'all, the three of you or four of you are more sort of in the weeds on this than I am. What do you think is that part of the motivation? Not just access to the oil, not just punishing China, but is it also to have an armed conflict going on and time it such where the commander in chief can say, yeah, we're not going to have an election right now?
Now that's a very good thread to follow.
Is that too tin hatty? In my
Not at all.
oil hat?
I
I don't think so.
But I think if it was closer to 28, that would make a lot more sense than the midterms, because there's so much that they can do before 26 that doesn't include wartime powers, which you're already seeing it with like the gerrymandering of states.
Texas.
Yeah, which the Supreme Court just gave a green light to.
Fucking Supreme Court.
And so there are other things for the midterms to keep that power going. But I think the biggest thing for me is that the president is so isolated. He has surrounded himself only with yes men. He has gotten the reporters that question him the most ousted from reporting. And all he has around him are people that are doing bidding for themselves under his name. Business tycoons, the right wing crazies,
Yeah.
essentially.
Alt-right
Um,
news.
yeah, you got like Laura Loomer sitting in the Pentagon Press, and
Matt Gates.
Matt Gates. And so he's so isolated that I think he is trying, and this also comes on the heels, he's not doing rallies. So he's not really hearing what the people are wanting. He's only hearing what these fringe actors that are trying to get their way, their opinion the most. And we're seeing the dysfunction come about because of that.
Yeah, and again, I've said this before. I think that's not a bug. That's a feature. That was what was intended with a manipulatable POTUS that they could have in office to be able to press their agenda, the Project 2025. And when I say they, I'm talking about Heritage and those kind of groups. And having a president that could be manipulated the way that Trump is. And it's kind of like if you throw him a bone, he'll leave you alone to do your thing. And they've convinced him, anyway. But I think that it's the fact that he is disengaged from what's going on. I think that was on purpose. That's intentional. And he doesn't care. Yeah, Josh, sorry.
No, you hear him say things, like he alludes to that when he says things like groceries. It's such an old-fashioned term, right? You can tell this guy does not live in the same reality as us. And people often kind of wonder when they approach me in conversations about Christian nationalism, like, why Trump? Like, what is it about Trump that was so, that the American Christian nationalists gravitated towards when he doesn't really embody or impersonate who they are, right? But I don't think that was the point. The point is that he already had a rallying base. There was already individuals that identified a certain kind of way, that already identified themselves to that conservative, right wing state of being, just way more radical. I think it was just all of it has come together in this way that Trump is being used by them overall for that, for those votes, for that base, for the optics of having this overall support. Um, you know, have you guys seen the map where it shows the United States, separated by votes or Republican, Democrat? It shows, the consolidation of little blue areas, but the overall map is being red, right? Um, and when
That's
you
just,
can tell the difference of somebody that understands what you're talking about or how
yeah,
this
it's just
works and
population
not,
density.
right? When
Some of
you're
it,
like, you realize there's a majority of people that live in those smaller blue areas where you
Mhm.
have vast expanses of unlivable or just open land, through most of that red area that isn't voting. The land
Right.
doesn't cast the vote.
yeah,
So it's a very misleading and disingenuous graph for people that don't understand. But when you encounter somebody in the wild that gets it and doesn't, there's always good litmus tests out there like
yeah,
those things in that grasp of conversation to help them kind of see what we're discussing here. But I think
yeah,
everything that we're talking about is all everything comes to a point, everything is interwoven and integrated.
yeah. Back to Venezuela. If we can jump back to Venezuela, um, obviously there have been, like I said, the Secretary of Defense has said that he didn't stick around and watch the entire attack, which I find hard to believe. He went on to another meeting, then came back later. Um, hashtag plausible deniability, which led to, and fundamentally threw the um, commander of Southcom under the bus, threw the JSOC group under the bus, the one who had operational control of that. Um, this is this is yeah, it's just cowardly. in not only that it's being done, but how it's being done. What now? One of you mentioned that there were rumblings about impeachment for the SecDef. Is that
Yes. As far as what I saw, they've somebody in the House has pushed for articles of impeachment. I can't remember what the name of the person was that drafted it, but it was to include the strikes, the I think the part of it was murder specifically, and then the signal chat leaks. I'm trying to remember who the
Yeah, I've got it right here.
The signal chat leaks. That's what happened.
Sri Thandar from Michigan.
Yes.
Sri Thandar, yeah.
Yeah.
That's what happened previously, right? The signal leaks.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That should have been the end.
The
of
attack
It
on
should
the
have been.
the
Yeah.
attack on the Houthis, where he was in a signal chat
Yeah.
listing the weapon systems that were involved, and yeah.
Right.
But he also claimed that he has authority to declassify information unilaterally just by himself. So
Yeah, which is really
it's kind of like,
disingenuous.
yeah, rewriting his
abilities.
His abilities.
As SecDef. No, that's not how that works.
yeah.
Yeah, and I think this is my favorite quote from the impeachment charges. Thanadar, and I don't know if I'm saying that right. Thanadar, anyway. He's incompetent. He's, violated. He's committed war crimes. He must go. But in my mind, he's incompetent. He's fundamentally incapable, unqualified of holding that job. And it's like putting a 4-year-old in a pile of hand grenades, literally. But yeah, he's incompetent. That's the thing that I see most.
Yeah. And it's like the fog of war comment that because you can't see something because it's been essentially blown up, that's the fog of war, and
But you
not.
blew it up.
But y'all wouldn't. But,
But that's
y'all
not.
wouldn't know
That's
that.
not what the fog of war is, though.
Correct. That's I was going to say. Joel, is that how fog of war? You understand as a
That's not what the fog of war
that is
is.
not what the fog of war
The
is.
fog of war
correct.
is essentially a lack of communication and intelligence to know what the hell is going on.
Right.
That is, and simply what that means. What he was saying was, "Oh, I couldn't
There
physically
was
see
smoke
anything."
blocking it.
Oh my God! It has nothing to do with that.
Nothing whatsoever to do with literal fog.
It has to do with being in combat and being
Yeah, there's a
confused and not. Yeah, a lot going on.
A lot of confusion.
Got it. Yeah.
Because a lot of what happened in World War II, fun fact, was fog of war. One of the histories that I taught for my unit, 'cause I do a lot of history training for my unit, it was based off of the Battle of Leyte Gulf, which was when we were on our way to make our way. The U.S. was on its way to make its push through the island chain, but we had to either determine if we were going to go directly to not the Philippines, but to Japan, or we were going to try to take over the Philippine Islands first to relinquish some of their stronghold. And when you read about the different battles that were there, because there was like 5 major battles, but it was all called the Battle of Leyte Gulf. This is also like where kamikaze pilots started actually like bombing people. But when you start reading about the different battles and how people couldn't contact each other, and how like we were sailing around looking for the Japanese fleet and they were sailing around looking for us, but everybody was like dark on comm, so nobody could speak to each other, so nobody knew where anybody was. And the only reason that we even managed to get through that, because the bulk of the Japanese fleet was at the north point of the Philippines, and we're just doing this all willy-nilly around the islands. And Admiral Halsey specifically, super incompetent. Like, wow, if you read anything about it. But it was just, that's what the fog of war is. We don't know who is where. We don't know what type of capabilities they have. Because one destroyer, the USS Johnston, went at like 20 Japanese ships. They thought that was the entire U.S. fleet behind them. Because why would this tiny destroyer be so gung-ho to come at just us by itself? This is a setup. And so they all started kind of like backing up, and they were also like shooting at the ship. It ended up getting sunk, but that allowed a lot of the U.S. forces to be able to traverse in different ways, and it was a whole thing.
Yeah, and this
so it ended up being successful, but it was all by
yes, Pure
fog
accident.
of
by
war.
accident, yeah,
Yeah.
which happens a lot
Right.
in combat.
Yeah.
And this is obviously pre the technology that
we
is
have now. Yeah.
just routine today. Satellites, FLIR, forward-looking infrared radar on weapon systems, where there is literal video of the attack on the boat,
Yes.
where the two people who had been in the boat were hanging on,
Yeah.
and then they bombed them again. So I mean, there's literally video receipts of what happened.
The lack of humanity is what kills me about
Yeah.
all of this. All of this bombing that's being done just randomly.
Mm-hmm.
There's no going onto the boat to make sure that drugs are on there.
Yeah,
It's just
Yeah.
it's a lack of
and
humanity
I
just
would-
killing people.
I would kind of push back of it being random, because it's very calculated. You don't just bomb boats just willy nilly.
So do these boats have drugs?
There is some motivation. Well, the one thing about if they have drugs or not is how much of the drugs that come from Venezuela actually come to the United States. They're not one of the main ones that are pushing fentanyl into the country. The largest one that produces and brings in fentanyl is Mexico. It's not Venezuela. And if you're talking cocaine's not coming from Venezuela. That's coming from Colombia.
But don't you see
So-
this as bombing of innocent people? I
Well,
mean, I know
no,
it's calculated as to where these
for
boats
sure.
are.
That
but it's-
I'm not arguing that. I'm
Yeah.
just saying it's very calculated, but we're not getting the reasons why. We're getting the guise of the
drugs.
the drug war.
Yeah.
And Venezuela, you don't see drugs coming from Venezuela directly into the United States.
Yeah.
So for it even to be drugs, these drugs aren't coming to the United States. Not the ones that at least are being quote unquote saving hundreds and thousands of lives in the United States,
Right.
because that would be a country that is directly, closer to us, but just doesn't have the oil reserve.
Yeah, and you've got. Go ahead, Josh. You had your hand up. They can't see you.
No.
Yeah, it's cool. It's
Go
cool.
ahead.
So real quick, I kind of to add to what Charlie that mentioned earlier, keep in mind too with who Venezuela already does business and trade with, right? If they're most of these ships, I mean, even assuming that these are, I don't know, it sounds like these are more smaller vessels.
Yeah, these aren't
Not even
ships.
the
These are
kinds that are going to
boats.
necessarily traverse across the Atlantic or across the Pacific in any kind of way. But for the most part, if there was copious amounts of drugs leaving there, they probably wouldn't be coming to us anyways. That's not really who they do business with. But I think more than that, like as far as the humanity side of it, Momma D, to kind of answer that, I feel like they have to eliminate all witnesses.
Right.
Right.
That's the right thing to
Exactly.
do. It's not the right thing to do. Obviously, we know it's not the right thing to do, but why else would they circle back, double back, not offer some assistance and help or take prisoners, which is generally the traditional and humane or gentlemanly approach to war.
Geneva
versus-
Convention.
Isn't there-
It's
yeah, I
not
was
even
gonna say,
gentlemanly.
it's-
right.
It's the Geneva
It's fine.
Convention to
it
which
should
we
be
have
protocol and
we as a
standards.
nation have committed. We are signers on the Geneva Convention. So to
But-
violate that as blatantly as we're violating
Blatant.
it is,
And they're-
even if it's
yeah.
drugs, intercepting a boat that's full of drugs, intercepting a ship that's full of, and targeting a Navy guy over here, intercepting that, frankly, that's kind of what the SEALs live for. That's boarding a ship that's like their Olympics, but, and yeah.
So
Take that out of the picture.
to kind of explain the fact that we have a system created for that called BBSS. It's visit, board, search, and seizure.
Seize.
And usually it's done either by the Coast Guard. SEALs do it too, and Marines also do it.
Mhm.
That is what should have happened, because you have to determine if these people are considered to be threats and or carrying, again, drugs, because a lot of the drug interdiction that we do in the seas is done by the Coast Guard. The Coast Guard gets a lot of the drug traffickers via the sea, like, because it's literally the Coast Guard's job. Anyway, so if we're not doing that, which we have the capabilities to do that, because technically with the Coast Guard, and the Coast Guard doesn't just stay near the U.S., by the way, the Coast Guard still can go all over the place.
Mm.
That is their job, and the Coast Guard falls under the DHS, which then by default is Kristi Noem's job. But because none of that matters at all, they just blow people up. So by default, they should all be impeached.
What can stop it? Is that it? Impeachment?
So impeachment potentially could, if he's removed as SecDef, then that could stop him from calling the shots, but he's only there as a mouthpiece.
Right.
He's only there to send out the orders based off of his position. These aren't things that he wants to do. He doesn't care about his job as SecDef in terms of like him trying to be a good SecDef. He is just only doing these things purely to appease and follow the orders of the people that he's loyal to.
Yeah.
Yeah, basically they'll find somebody else to replace him.
They'll just find somebody else.
Yeah, exactly.
There's always somebody else.
Yeah, what was Gates nominated for?
Attorney General.
Oh, AG, that's right. Yeah, and that's a classic example. Gates, he was disposable. Kegg's breath is disposable.
As terrible as
we gotta
Bondi is,
start
it
calling him
probably
Hague's
is a
breath.
Bondi or more worth fine.
Gates breath.
The
Hague's
Hague's breath.
Yeah, the Hague.
Yeah,
Oh,
Yeah.
because
Ah.
that's essentially
I thought it was hog's
where
breath.
war criminals go. So
Yeah, the
Oh.
Hague is where those international courts are. Yeah, I was talking with somebody about that yesterday. Actually, it was my mom.
Interesting.
But yeah, the Hague is where those international courts are, if I'm not mistaken.
I'm so excited. I'm really excited for all those trials.
The International
Yeah.
Court of Justice. That's it.
Yeah, who was it that said? Somebody said, oh, it was Steve Bannon, wasn't it? That if this administration doesn't get reelected in 2028, there's a lot of us going to jail.
Yeah, that was Bannon.
Himself included.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My body is ready.
Oh my gosh.
But again, like if and that's what I'm saying, whenever it was coming to midterms, going to war, that wouldn't make a lot of sense. But for 2028, that makes a lot of sense for us to get into a conflict, and then you don't essentially have to be reelected because you're at war. It's what FDR did with World War II.
Right.
So there already has been precedent set that could occur.
But we're trying to pick a war.
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
certainly.
But do
It's what
you
bullies
Because
do.
you don't shut off airspace if you're not intending on going into said space.
right now? Do you think that with the
His book is all about that, by the way. Trump and Bannon.
gotcha
So if you haven't seen or heard of this one, I recommend it.
What is it?
Devil's Bargain
Hmm.
Devil's
by
Bargain by Joshua Green.
Joshua
Steve
Green? Yeah.
Bannon, Donald Trump, and the storming of the presidency.
Yeah, but do you think that given with the midterms coming, there is, I think, maybe a hope. Hopefully, it's fact-based hope that the control of the Congress will, that pendulum will swing back over in the midterm to give Democratic control of the House and Senate. There's enough seats in play to be able to do that. And there are those in the administration, I think, that are concerned that might happen if they have those midterm elections, at which point then now we're looking at impeachment things for POTUS,
That's
25th Amendment. That was my thought on that. And out of this purely coming out of Joe's backside.
no, I think no matter what, if Democrats get into power, impeachment is coming. No matter what the reason for impeachment is coming, I think it's a clear cut. They are going to try to impeach the president again.
And I think before this is my, okay, I'm putting my full hat on. I think before, if that happens, and if the Democratic Party reclaims control of the House or of the Congress, House and Senate, that the current administration will 25th Amendment the POTUS to get him out of harm's way, to get him out of the line of fire, and let VPOTUS let JD Vance come in and ascend to the presidency and buy time, because there's not enough documented stuff for Congress to impeach him, whereas with current poet, I don't know.
Yeah,
This, like I
maybe.
said, this is very
I feel
tinfoil
like
hatty.
he's just expendable. Why would you 25th Amendment him to save him from the trouble whenever he is, at his age and at his mental fortitude? Why would you remove him and put somebody potentially in harm's way
Yeah.
like JD Vance?
Yeah, somebody's going to go into that line of fire.
Right.
If
And I
the
feel
House
like no
is
matter what,
returned.
it's going to be him until he says no.
Yeah,
I don't see. They did it before.
he's a cockroach, man. He's a survivor. What?
Oh no, I was listening.
Oh, I thought you were
I
telling me to
don't
shush.
think. I
Oh
don't.
no.
I just don't think impeachment will happen. I mean, I think it will, just like it did last time,
Oh, sure.
where everybody wants
Charges
to
are
do.
brought.
Not everybody,
Sure.
but there's enough votes to do it. But
Right.
then, nope, it's not really going to happen.
Yeah, charges are brought by the House. The trial is held by the Senate, so we'd have to hold both houses.
This is the lowest approval rating he's ever been at, though. I have to mention that.
Yeah,
That's
that's
fair.
true.
His numbers continue to decline. Yeah. And
Well,
really, I think it's just because he isn't hearing his base. He used to be, at least in his first term, out on the campaign trail, even while he was in office, directly talking to the people. And he has very much so taken a step back, and he's, I mean, even fallen asleep in meetings
yeah.
because of where he's at. So I think he's losing a lot of touch with what has given him the success.
And again, I
there.
don't think that's an accident. I think that is what those that are actually in control of this administration want. They want him out of the way.
Want him in a silo? Yeah, that's
Yeah.
I think to keep him
the other part of
distracted.
hang on just a second, Josh. The other part of losing his base is the Epstein files. There's a lot of people in his base that are still repulsed by that and turned off. Sorry, go ahead, Josh.
I can't believe there's more people in his base that aren't fractured by that, to be honest with you. But you're right. Even at high levels, like Marjorie Taylor Greene, to talk about her resignation. Then I think I read a headline and having confirmed. So somebody would check my facts from this. Something about Nancy Mace
Yes.
potentially also offering up her seat in resignation.
Well,
So,
I don't know. I didn't see about the resignation, but I do know that Mace and Marjorie Taylor Greene are collaborating to elevate the issue and try and get more attention paid to us, which sort of surprised me.
This is the Epstein issue?
Yeah.
Yes. And I want to.
Nancy Mace was the one that ran crying out of the room from the interview with the not the
Victims.
witnesses, with the victims.
Yeah.
She didn't even stop to talk to the press or take any questions. Literally, I think that was one of the first time we were like, is she actually human? Like, does she have feelings? Because you see the way she talks to and demeans trans people all the
Yeah.
time,
Yeah.
all the time. Kind of makes you think, but at the end of the day, there's a humanity still in all these people.
Yeah.
Just gotta find it.
What were we going to say, Joel?
Can't.
I wanted to bring up the point that you were making a little bit earlier ago about the midterms and how it could be potentially be like this wartime effort, or this push for war could potentially be like a way to disrupt the midterms. And I did look it up, and again, because there is a certain aspect of states and their ability to conduct their own elections. No state election has ever been paused for local and state elections ever in the U.S. At the federal level for other countries and stuff, like obviously it's like, hey, like we don't have time to like organize elections when we're trying to fight a war.
Right.
So UK did it. Obviously they're trying to use that as an excuse because Zelensky was like, we're at war. We can't
Right.
have an election. And so they're like, oh, well, if that's the case, then we'll just do that too. But the situation is, because those wouldn't be affected, and moving on to the next aspect of local elections and midterm elections, Afton Bain's 15-point swing in Tennessee, while she lost the black and white as she lost, yeah, like that's in a 22 point district that Trump won. a year ago,
Uh-huh.
for it to swing 15 points
It's
is
huge.
it's a huge thing, because
Mm.
assuming that if we have a plus or minus 2 to 3 point margin off of that 15, any Republican seat that is within 18 points is up for
Is in
grabs.
play. Yep.
And that puts, and I saw somebody do the math on it, somewhere between 25 and 45 seats.
And
Wow,
that
wow.
those numbers and that effect, we were talking last night with somebody who's a candidate for mayor here in Denton,
Right.
and they were talking about the wave year, this being a wave year, and
Yeah.
there are a whole lot of people that are trying to slide into local elections, hoping that wave year, that wave of against really the Republican incumbents in particular,
Right.
they're hoping that they'll be able to ride that wave into office.
Oh, yeah,
So,
absolutely. Because then you have,
Yeah.
go ahead, Josh.
Right.
No, go ahead, Josh.
So I had the opportunity recently to give a presentation and a lecture to the Flower Mound Democratic Party. And in part of that presentation, one of the things I did bring up was examples from like South Lake, Heller, um, school boards, Grapevine school boards. In fact, we just had a school board election here in Flower Mound, Louisville area, where Republicans did take that one, but the city of Flower Mound, believe it or not, went completely blue. Completely blue. The Democratic candidate completely won has been a red town for the 25 plus years I've been here, which is
Wow.
astounding to me.
See, y'all
So, you know,
y'all talking about these local and state elections, making me a little twitchy here.
well, here's the thing: is it's important to understand where the our state and federal representatives are initially coming from too. For decades now, they have the right wing has been very, very successful in starting their candidates out, basically their farm system, um, for these higher state and federal positions,
Sure.
starting them out on boards in their community, starting them out especially in school boards and education
Yep.
boards. That's where it starts. So if you aren't paying attention to your local elections, you are absolutely 100%
You're
even
behind.
unintentionally complicit in allowing this extreme right wing to take over as they have. All
Yeah,
of these
and
things.
that's a strategy that has been in the works for several decades, 3 or 4 decades, to start getting taking over, sort of grooming, the traditional use of the word, grooming candidates in local elections to get them into the public eye, to get them into the public, get people used to seeing them in political races, to escalate into city councils and mayors and those kinds of things, state representatives. Yeah. And that's what this mayoral candidate was talking about last night with the wave. There's an expectation that some of the people, for example, the state house representative for the district that Momma D and I live in, has gone on record. His brand is, "You're not going to find anybody further right than me," and been a vocal supporter of the current presidential administration and gubernatorial administration. That's his whole brand. And my guess is he's up for reelection again next year. My guess is that he's going to soften that position just a touch. But those words are still on the record. What he said is still out there.
And will he? I don't know. Some of them are doubling down.
Yeah, that's true.
That is true.
Like,
Yeah, but more whenever it comes to like canceling midterms, like how would that look if it is to cancel a midterm? Because like you were mentioning,
it's not
it's
happened.
never happened before.
Right.
So
It could
we're
just be.
already seeing like the gerrymandering,
but
and
it doesn't
such
mean it can't happen, or
occur.
they can't say that we're doing this, and then everyone kind of goes along
And it
with
could just be federal.
Yeah,
The federal
they could
elections.
just cancel the congressional elections, the federal elections.
But then that
which-
completely delegitimizes who's already in office.
correct.
So
Not
that's what I'm
wrong.
saying. Like there isn't like a way out of that.
Correct. That is
Where
correct, and that's the
that's what I always say. Where's the
that's
oversight?
yeah, that's the horrifying thing is there is no way out, and that's assuming that the intent is to normalize and stabilize and return to the government that we're used to. I don't believe that's the intent of this administration. I believe the intent of this administration is to not have an exit strategy, to break it completely,
Yes.
so that there aren't representatives of the people in Congress any longer.
And
That's
This
what I believe.
oh, go ahead, Joel.
I was going to say there's two things that we can try to count on for this as a beacon of hope, right? These Epstein files are coming out. Like there's nothing that's stopping that freight train. Those are coming out, and I fear that that's going to.
But question, who is going to release them?
So
Because isn't it coming directly through
Congress
this administration and
Congress.
also Congress, which is heavily backing it?
And-
So we're going to get a portion of it. We're not going to. It's like the JFK files. Like we didn't get that until what?
This year.
This year.
This
Yeah,
year.
this year, yeah.
We don't get like the full information and the scope of it, and it's already being presented that the only ones that they're looking at is Democrats.
I think it's important for us to remember that our government isn't the only government in the world that has access to these files. So if and when they are then released redacted, we can then just do whatever the English version of a FOIA request is and just, hey, what's behind this black bar right here?
Gotcha.
It's entirely
like
possible
Edward
to
Snowden
cross-reference.
type
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
Highly possible to cross-reference. So when these come through, I fully expect to see more than 2 resignations. Because right now we have Marjorie Greens and somebody else just said they were resigning at the beginning of next year.
Mace.
I can't think of his name.
Yeah. No. MGT is.
She said she's-
MTG.
She said the 5th of January
Right.
is hers, and there's another guy that just came out said he's resigning. We can't assume that these are going to be the only people that resign, which brings it on from 219 to 217 after he resigns, and then those are going to trigger special elections. So what I'm saying is we're going to be seeing special elections throughout the coming of the next 6 or 7 months, because when people resign, retire, get out of those offices, they have to then call a special election. So let's just say 6 happen in the next 8 to 10 months before the midterms, before a year from now and for the midterms, and we win all of those, because let's say all of those districts are within 15 to 18 points, like I said earlier. We don't have to wait till the midterms. And with the court martial is going to ready to happen.
So you're saying that the wave is going to show up during the special elections, not at the normal fall midterm.
And I believe so, because again, we're only looking at the special elections on the federal level. What's happening without us, but what's also happening in the state elections, and what's also happening in local economies and local
Jurisdictions.
local jurisdictions, is there's small blue waves happening all over the country every few weeks, because other states and local economies and local cities are having their own elections, like with Denton, and like you said with Flower Mound, it just went blue. A lot of these school boards
we're
are
seeing
turning
this in real time.
A lot of these cities of commerces are turning all blue. Like, these things are happening, but we're not looking at it in that small of a scale, because we never focus on local elections. But it's already happening. It's already happening.
Yeah, which, to Josh's point earlier, the local elections are, we've got to keep our eyes on those. But
only 6% of at least Denton's population came out and voted for that local election.
yeah,
Right.
So it's like
They're very
the
low voter
turnout for
turnouts.
it is just
The problem is people are ready to vote at this point. People are ready to vote. They just don't know when elections are happening.
yeah.
Like, there's nothing. If I wasn't so chronically online, I would have missed the elections, because I voted on election day, and I never vote on election day.
Go ahead,
Same.
Josh.
Same.
So just heads up. I mean, wherever you guys live, you are designated to a precinct. Whatever precinct you're designated to, there's generally a Republican and
Let me just intercede. You've already lost the crowd. and I say that, I don't mean to pick on you,
Yeah, it's fine.
but that's part of the problem, is the levels of complexity and the disparity there are between, like,
Yeah.
we live in the district, just to the east of Denton. We have
Mhm.
different voting cycles and everything else. So
Totally.
everything that you were explaining is absolutely factually correct, and more than likely is going to be ineffective. So the key is to be able to communicate that in a
Mhm.
very succinct, clear, digestible chunk that people can walk away with.
Yep.
Great point. Love
We
that,
need to be
because that's the whole thing.
advertising like a retail store.
Well, at
I
some
mean,
point, like,
the DNC
yeah.
is the
Well, you should know what your precinct is just as much as you know your zip code. But people don't. I
Oh,
don't
Yeah.
think I
yeah.
had
It
any idea.
changes. It changes.
I had no
When
clue.
I was in Palestine in the same year, I had 2 different voting sites and didn't realize it. And when I moved here, I was supposed to vote at one place, and then I voted there, and then I went to vote there the next time, and they said, "Oh, this is for a different type of election. You got to go to this part of town."
Yep, yep,
So
yep.
Mhm.
it and it's done
They
that
make
way
it
to
intentionally
discourage voters.
hard.
Yeah.
I lived in the same house in Denton for 20-something years, and our precinct changed a couple of times. I didn't move.
Yeah. So
The precinct moved.
to throw you under the bus, Josh, as a precinct chair, what you're hearing, sort of the frustration or the
Yeah.
reality of what it's like on the ground when you got to go to these elections. What can
Exactly.
be done from your perspective to make it less, okay, well, you have to keep track of this code and then enter it over here into this other place and know what this thing is?
Mhm.
That's not going to happen, and that's why we're getting, to Charlie's point, 6% voter turnout.
Yep. So that's one thing we harped on a lot this last special election we just had here in the Denton County area for school board members, at least for the LISD school board members. We hit the ground running in this area on the door knocking. We went out there and put out information, let people know. And this was supposed to be, even though it's coming from the Democratic Party, we were putting that information out there to say, hey, look, you have all of these bills. There were a bunch of state bills for the Texas state constitution that were going to be amended. Um, and on top of those, and there was, depending on where you lived, some small individual elections to pay attention to. Um, it took us really honestly putting manpower hours on the ground to get out there and get the word out to increase even incrementally enough engagement, and put the word out there that there is elections, special elections, and here's where it is. We put together what we call a white sheet that showed, look, this is our recommendation. This breaks it down to what these mean, but also here's links for you guys to find more information. We included that stuff so that and of course, information as to where you can reach out to us too if you want to find out where our meetings are, if you want to be involved. But that's the big thing is finding a way to get involved. Like, go out and listen to a town hall meeting. Go and sit in on a school board meeting. You don't have to say anything, but just to be present, to be aware. And most people aren't going to take the time to do that,
That's
especially if they
correct.
have no vested interest.
Yeah.
You
Now,
know,
let me,
And they also don't have the time for it too. So
yes, there's
it takes a lot of
or
time and a lot of energy to do it.
a
And
lot,
especially whenever
a lot.
we're in such a headline driven society, there's not much visibility of what is occurring within these elections and such. And even like, spreading awareness to what the propositions are. The propositions are drafted by a legislative that doesn't always reflect what the community actually is asking for. So even
Coded
whenever it's
language.
like they're informed, it's not like they feel like their voice actually is being
Through that.
represented. Um, and so that's why, like, bigger elections, there is more visibility to what the stakes are, and also the what the platform is being shaped by their call outs. And
Mhm.
that's why I feel like they get more traction, because there is a little bit more representation than
And a
just
lot more
your
funding.
average local election.
well, and if you go to a news website, AP News, for example, or pick one, how often are you going to see anything about local network or local elections?
Right.
You're not.
Local politics, 100% not.
You're not.
And if you go
Well,
to
and to be fair, because there's a lot of crazy shit happening.
sure, absolutely. Point being that even if you go to like the Denton Record Chronicle, the Dallas Morning News, the North Texas news sources around here, there is such a distrust of the media in general that those aren't necessarily reliable or effective means by which to communicate to the populace back like they were back in the olden days, 20 years ago. So you've got, how is word getting out? How is this being communicated? Where is that sense of we're in this together? It's very much a sense of I got to hunker down and protect myself.
And that's what we're struggling with.
Sure.
That's the conversation we're having at all of our regular meetings is the idea again, going out to where the people are. You have, and I'm sorry, I do sound like a broken record when I bring this up, but you have a built-in ability to do that when you're a Republican because they've already tied their ideology to Christianity in America. So even though there's supposed to be the separation of church and state, there's already this idea that in their churches already they're already talking about this. They talk it from the pulpits. They talk it amongst themselves. They discuss their politics and how their religion, their faith affects the politics locally and statewide and nationally. So
Well, and we do the same thing. We're sitting in a bookstore having the same kind of conversation.
we are, but we're in a bookstore. We have this 5 of us, but
Right.
not, we're
Right.
not talking about a mega church where there's
But wait a minute,
5
we
to
probably have
2,000,
tens of
5,000.
we probably have tens of thousands of listeners, Josh.
easily.
And
So
it's,
that's the point, is to get this amplified and get it out there, get that message to as many ears as possible.
yeah,
But they
Go ahead,
have
Charlie.
already built in and capitalized the system
Yeah,
that existed before. They
go
didn't
ahead,
build
Charlie.
it. It was there.
yeah. I feel like that not all the churches are just right wing hubs, though.
Good point. That's a great point. I'm glad you brought
Because
that up.
I feel like there's a good amount of churches that also, speak, and endorse Democratic candidates. And so, like, I don't even feel like just associating just because that they have Christianity on their side is why they're getting elected. I feel like the messaging is significantly better from the right whenever it comes to what they're representing, and it also comes into play within like the state whenever you get measures and propositions that are pushed out from a Republican dominated legislative session, you're going to have more of the representation of right wing points than you are liberal points. And if you're in a liberal state, you're going to have more liberal legislative things to vote on than you would Republican. So I don't think it's fully coming just from what churches essentially endorsing and giving the platform for, because I don't know how much that truthfully sways much within the
Yeah.
country.
Ooh, I feel
And-
like in the right wing pulpit churches, it really, I mean, I remember back in the 70s there being, and I can't remember his name, but he put flyers on the
The pews.
pews. Thank you. Couldn't think of the word.
Yeah.
Benches. I want to say
Been a minute
benches.
since you've been to church,
I
has it?
know.
Wow. Heathens.
Yeah. Anyway, there were telling people how to vote.
Yeah.
It was that organized. The church you grew
That's-
up in that I took you to, that never happened. We never had flyers telling us who to vote for,
No, for sure.
which again says not all Christian churches do it.
Well, and I think
Yeah.
that
And-
brings up a really, really good point that we need to be careful about. And not everything is absolute black and white. So to say that the Christian churches are speaking purely to the far right Christian nationalists, that's not accurate. And I think it's a great point, Charlie, to bring up. It's not all or nothing.
That's
The other
correct.
point that brought up, and this is something that this mayoral candidate that we spoke with last night was talking about, and that is the discipline of the messaging coming from the conservative side of the aisle. They have been very consistent, and Mandami in New York got that. He picked up on it because no matter what question he was asked, he spun it back to affordability.
Yep.
It didn't matter. You could be asked about immigration. He would say, I hear you. That's a really frustrating thing. But he would find a way to spin it back toward affordability. That's what the conservative side of the House, the Republican group, has been exceptionally good at, and that is discipline in message. They're not distracted by and if they're also great at taking Democrat liberal candidates and saying, let me distract you with this, and they'll dangle the yarn, and we bite, and we bite. Pretty soon, we've used all our time, all our platform defending something that really doesn't need defending, and we haven't gotten any part of our message across. So discipline of message has got to be critical.
And I think that's what the right has been doing. They have been very disciplined in message.
Very exceptional. They're really good at that.
Because it's very easy for, we'll say, more like left-leaning people or people that, again, are more well-read and actually paid attention to the nuances and stuff, always trying to qualify stances and add nuance to everything. Sometimes you don't have to explain every little bit because, again, you get lost in the get lost in the sauce when you're trying to explain every little aspect of, oh, well, that's because of this, because of this, because of this, because of this.
Gone. Message lost. Not listening anymore.
Because we could have started off with the economy and how things were rough and how he was talking about Wassel and how his people were making $2.13 an hour. And I could have brought that all the way back to the fact that tipping started because they didn't want to pay black service workers back after the war. And that's what we get caught up in after the war, after the Civil Rights Act and stuff like that. Like,
Yeah, 100%.
Civil Rights Act. 1865, post-Civil War. There we go.
Reconstruction.
And we could have
Reconstruction.
gotten lost in all of that sauce. But that's the point, is like they speak in such simple terms. They give you simple solutions to complex problems, and they don't deviate from that. And that's very easy to digest for their constituents.
Correct.
Yeah, absolutely.
This might be a great next discussion, or
Quite, and really so.
yeah, we
Yeah.
have
Good.
Yeah.
we have a Cowboys game to watch.
Yeah, we do.
Let's end this deep philosophical political conversation to go watch the bread and circuses. This is a call back to what? Episode
Few episodes
Oh,
back.
episode 4,
Oh my
episode
God.
5.
But I think,
I'm ready for a circus.
yeah, and we got some soup too. I'm a little
Yeah,
hungry,
we
not
do.
gonna lie. I had a
Yeah.
peanut butter jelly sandwich for that. I think this was a great discussion. I don't know, show of hands.
Absolutely.
Who liked the format? This sort of more
Terrible.
free-
I'm actually never coming back.
Yeah, I feel like we kind of as the commander and chief would say, bobbed and weaved a lot. But it was a good conversation.
Yeah, I think it started focused.
Yeah,
It started and we got should I make an announcement?
sure.
It was very macro and then
Yeah,
got to micro.
Should I? Seriously.
Do you want to, or
I don't-
wait?
I don't know.
I've been anxiously waiting for this announcement. I think
Make the announcement.
Wait.
I'm
Well,
for it.
now you've dropped the
Yeah.
breadcrumbs.
Well,
Now-
I don't.
now the
That-
crumbs
that's
are out.
that's called a teaser. We can make people come
We
back.
can always make that announcement next week.
Okay.
No, a teaser is when you have two bets and you shift the lines a little bit to the left. That makes it a
Hashtag
little bit
gambling
easier.
anonymous.
I am.
Okay, Terry Rozier.
First of
Yeah.
all, I have been 2 seasons clean. Actually,
Respect.
I haven't gambled since I started my NFL boycott. So
Yeah, that's
well,
fair.
Congrats.
sports betting,
Right.
gambling. I still partake.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sure. You gotta roll the slot machines every now and again.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah.
What'd you call me?
well,
Cha-ching.
we'll pick this back up. I personally thought this was the past ones. We were trying to be a little structured.
Yeah.
I believe I'm of the school of thought that says a good podcast is like listening in on somebody's private conversation.
And I
this-
feel like that's what this was. I do. I
Yeah.
liked it.
I agree. This felt a little more like that.
Yeah.
All right. We'll as always, we'll shoot around a chat. Josh, you want to say something?
No, I'm just thanks for having me back, guys. I'm sorry I wasn't able to be there in person, but I'm actually very thankful that I wasn't able to get you guys feeling like I've been feeling, because I was
Yeah.
deep for that.
Hopefully this will you'll be back on your feet. back to 100% and be back in the Patchouli Podcast studio here
Turkey soup
in.
could do the trick.
What's that?
So turkey soup could do the trick. Just saying.
Yeah. Yeah. It almost certainly would. I'm still not giving you any. I'll give you the recipe, though.
Love that.
All right. Well, thank you all. I'm glad we got to do this. I like to hear the voices kind of jump up and really raise hell. Yes.
Oh, this is
No, the hearts.
The
it's the
heart.
heart.
Oh, the hearts. Yes, the
Yes.
hearts.
Yes.
So
What was
what was that? Avery? Was that you, Avery?
Moving.
Oh, okay. All right.
Hi, Avery.
Come back, join us next week. I think we're back on cycle. We'll probably get disrupted again a little bit during the later in December.
Yeah.
But for now, we'll be back next Thursday. All goes well.
Mhm.
Listen to all the podcasts. Come go eat at 940. Come shop at Julie Joe's Books. All those wonderful things.
Be careful fishing out there.
Oh God.
Make good choices.
And for all of you that work in hospitals, I hope it's not too quiet on the floor for you tonight.
Yes.
What
All
does
right. Yeah. Feel that.
The ones that understand, it'll hit the right audience.
YK.
I'm not gonna explain that, but it'll hit the audience.
All right.
all
There
right
you go.
then.
Well, no matter what the problem is, no matter all the life coming at us, I believe, and I hope they all believe, that the answer is always going to come back to
Love
Love.
love.
is for the way you love.
Love.
All right.
Yeah.
Peace. Thanks for listening.
Peace.
Thanks for coming back. Thanks for being
Peace.
here. Love you all. Bye.
Bye.
This is the Patchouli Podcast Network.